All right, welcome inside the Curry Coliseum. We're about set for more basketball action here on emccathletics.com/live. And third game of day number 2 of the MACJC State Basketball Tournament. It is the number 1 seed out of the North, your EMCC Lady Lions, taking on the number 4 seed out of the South Division, the Lady Bulldogs, out of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Of course, we've had 2 games already in the book today. Had an overtime game in our second game earlier, and Itawamba was able to get past Pearl River in overtime in our earlier game, and Jones got past Northwest. So Jones and Itawamba have got wins, and they will meet in the 1 o'clock game tomorrow afternoon. And, of course, the winner of this game will meet Southwest or Holmes tomorrow night at 5:30 as the EMCC Lady Lions are being introduced right now here in front of the crowd here at the Curry Coliseum, of course, led by Coach Sharon Thompson, the number 1 seed and undefeated in the North Division, taking on Mississippi Gulf Coast. And taking a look at the starting lineups, first for Mississippi Gulf Coast, this is how the Lady Bulldogs will line things up here to start off the game here this evening. Maya Goolsby, Daphne White, Whitney Johnson, also Nakendra Owens and Kayla Simmons. Those are the 5 that Mississippi Gulf Coast will send out there to start off the game here this evening, while EMCC will send out Daniels, Lattimore, Sticks, Hollings, Metcalf, and Riley. Those are the 5 that the Lady Lions will send out there to start off this ball game here this evening. Of course, the winner will move on to the semifinal round tomorrow night at 5:30. And, of course, the winner will meet the 2-3 matchup in the other side of the bracket, Southwest or Holmes. Those will be the 2 opponents later on this evening in the 4th and final game of all of our women's games here in day 2 of the state tournament. Of course, all of the semifinal matchups in the men's games will be tomorrow, along with the semifinal matchups in the women's bracket. So getting close to finding out who's going to be the final 4 teams in this conference tournament at the conclusion of day 2 here at the Curry Coliseum, as EMCC is ready to roll here in front of the home crowd here in Scuba at the Curry Coliseum, as Sticks Hollings will be in the jump circle here to start things off for EMCC. As basketball action, East Mississippi and Gulf Coast, the 1-4 matchup here on day number 2 of the conference tournament. And EMCC will win the opening tip, and we are underway here in the first quarter between Gulf Coast and East Mississippi. Lady Lions controlling things off here to our right. Opening possession of the game here in the first round of the state tournament for the Lady Lions. East Mississippi using a lot of the clock here to open things up. Rolling it down low, off the glass and in for EMCC as Metcalf got that one to go. So a good start for the Lady Lions. And East Mississippi bringing a little bit of pressure here in the backcourt now on Mississippi Gulf Coast, led by Coach Hope Adams, and the Lady Bulldogs going to use their size down low with Daphne White. She is a 6'5" sophomore out of Gulfport, so she scores the first points off the window. And both teams inside score early, and we're tied at 2. There's a mid-range jumper that's up and good, as Taylor Lattimore scores there, the 5'7" sophomore out of Memphis. So EMCC back in front by 2, and our first foul of the game is going to go on the Lady Lions as Lattimore. A little bit too much contact right there for EMCC. So there's the first foul of the game on the Lady Lions. 4-2, Lady Lions leading it here in the opening minute plus here of the first quarter here at the Curry Coliseum, as Mississippi Gulf Coast brings it up the floor now. Their first points came down in the paint with Daphne White. She is going to be a handful down low defensively for East Mississippi here tonight. Gulf Coast dressed in their all-gold uniforms here on the road for this conference basketball tournament. Baseline move is up off the window, up and no good. Offensive rebound is scored there by Daphne White, so she has got 2 quick buckets down low, and we're back tied at 4. So Mississippi Gulf Coast going to look to work the glass here early on in this game with Daphne White, who's got 4 points for Mississippi Gulf Coast. As East Mississippi moving with the basketball down low, and that's going to be out of bounds as East Mississippi will turn it over. Looking for Maddie Riley down low, but just off of her fingertips, out of bounds, so that'll be a turnover against the Lady Lions. We're tied at 4 as we're under 8 to go here in the first quarter. Here comes Mississippi Gulf Coast dashing down the floor quickly. Lady Bulldogs led at the point by Goolsby. And once again, going to go down low to who else but Daphne White. But this time, EMCC is there to contest the shot down low. And here comes the Lady Lions moving up the floor quickly, trying to get back in transition. And here is just inside the three-point line jumper, up and no good, but EMCC will chase down the easy offensive rebound with Metcalf. From the right wing, back out here toward the top of the circle. EMCC looking to penetrate down low, but nothing there. 8 seconds to shoot. Long three-pointers on the way. It's off the back iron, no good, and Gulf Coast will get the rebound with Goolsby down low. We're tied at 4. Just over 7 minutes to go. Opening quarter here tonight between Mississippi Gulf Coast and your EMCC Lady Lions. Good spin move down low, but it was a traveling violation down low on the Lady Bulldogs. A couple of subs coming into the ball game now, one for EMCC and one for Gulf Coast. Looks like Hawkins going to check in for EMCC on this next trip up the floor. Tied at 4 here, early goings. Mississippi Gulf Coast has scored all of their points down low with Daphne White, as East Mississippi, after the turnover by the Lady Bulldogs, will bring it up the floor now. Winner will play in the semifinal round tomorrow night at 5:30. Off the window, up and no good. Good strong rebound down low by the Lady Lions, and a second chance opportunity, and a third chance opportunity can't go, and Gulf Coast is going to bring it back down the floor quickly. There's a good pass along the baseline, up and off the window, up and no good. Gulf Coast had the rebound momentarily, but it will stay on this end of the floor with the Lady Bulldogs. A lot of contact on the other end of the floor there, but there was no whistle, as Gulf Coast will hang on to possession with a fresh shot clock at 20 seconds. Here's Goolsby's long-range jumper. That is banked in and good, so that's a three-pointer for Gulf Coast. And the Lady Bulldogs take their first lead of the tournament, 7-4, with under 6:20 to go here in the first quarter from the Curry Coliseum. Lady Lions looking to go down low, and that'll be off the window, up and no good. And Gulf Coast gets another rebound down low, and is that going to be a jump ball? It will be, but the arrow will stay with Mississippi Gulf Coast. Lady Lions going to check Rush into the ball game now, as Riley will take a seat for EMCC. So Gulf Coast leading 7-4 off a couple of baskets inside by Daphne White, and then the three-pointer by Goolsby. And it's a three-point lead for the Lady Bulldogs from Mississippi Gulf Coast. And once again, going inside to Daphne White once again, and White will score another bucket inside. She's got 6 of the 9 points for Gulf Coast, and the Lady Bulldogs out to a 9-4 lead. East Mississippi looking to answer here from the near corner. Mid-range jumper is up and good. That was an open look there for Rush. She drained it and makes it a 9-6 Gulf Coast lead. Now, ball is loose on the floor, and this should go back to the Lady Lions, and it will. So a costly turnover for the Lady Bulldogs, as Mississippi Gulf Coast will go to the bench here, bring Owens back into the ball game. Also, EMCC is going to bring Daniels back in after the stoppage of play. So Daphne White will take a seat for Mississippi Gulf Coast with 5:31 to go here in the first quarter, and East Mississippi trailing Gulf Coast 9-6. As Rush is going to trigger it in, and Metcalf bringing it up the floor here for EMCC. Of course, she was an all-conference selection a year ago, and she's well on her way to doing that again this year for EMCC. Lady Lions trailing by 3 now, looking to go inside. A lot of traffic down low there. Bounce pass back out toward the top of the circle. Here's another move, baseline move, off the mark, no good, and Gulf Coast will come out of there with the rebound and bring it up the floor. Lady Lions had a good runner along the baseline, just couldn't get it to go, and Mississippi Gulf Coast brings a 3-point lead up the floor here, under 5 to go in the first quarter. Good move down toward the paint area, and it looks like that's going to be another traveling violation on Mississippi Gulf Coast, so another turnover for the Lady Bulldogs. As Sticks Hollings will trigger it in here off to our left and bring it the length of the floor here for EMCC, 9-6. Gulf Coast leading things here in the first quarter from the Curry Coliseum, as EMCC trying to move it down toward the lane area. There's a mid-range jumper that is up and good. That was a good open look there by Metcalf. She drains the bucket, and it's down to a 1-point Gulf Coast lead. So good move inside there by Metcalf. A little bit off balance when she released the basketball, but she got it to go. And EMCC has cut this down to a 1-point lead. Gulf Coast baseline move, no good. And Holling's going to come out of there with the rebound. And here comes EMCC moving it up the floor. As Daphne White is at the table, she'll check in on our next stoppage of play. EMCC going to move it inside. Going to be a foul down low on Mississippi Gulf Coast. And looks like this is going to go against Simmons. So Kayla Simmons picks up her first personal, and Daphne White going to check back into the ball game here for Mississippi Gulf Coast. At the free throw line is Hawkins for EMCC. Hawkins on the season 69% from the free throw line, and she drains her first of 2 to tie this game up at 9 apiece. And the second free throw is good. So 2 of 2 of the line, and EMCC back out in front by 1 with 4:02 to go here in the first quarter. So here comes Gulf Coast quickly back up the floor now. Good defense on the far end of the floor there by EMCC, but Gulf Coast breaks things. Looking to go down low again, but good defense down low again by the Lady Lions. And EMCC is going to cause another Gulf Coast turnover. They were looking to go down low to Daphne White, but EMCC turned them away. And here comes the Lady Lions. Good baseline move off the window and good. And that was good by Hawkins. And we've got a timeout on the floor. It's going to be a 30-second timeout on Mississippi Gulf Coast. And with 3:36 to go here in the first quarter, EMCC is back out in front 12-9 here at the state basketball tournament. And just wanted to remind everyone that's watching our women's game here this evening, the Region 23 men's tournament bracket has already been set, and your East Mississippi men will be playing on March the 3rd. That is next week over in Clinton at Mississippi College, and East Mississippi is scheduled to play Hines. That'll be March the 3rd at 5 o'clock over at the Region 23 men's tournament. Of course, all the regional action will get underway over in Clinton next week. So just wanted to give you that note. East Mississippi's men will take on Hines March the 3rd at 5 o'clock as a part of the 2020 Region 23 men's tournament. After the timeout, good defensive pressure, full court, and EMCC is going to knock that one out of bounds. Gulf Coast going to go back to the bench as Kayla Simmons going to check back in now for the Lady Bulldogs. As East Mississippi still bringing things with a full court press right here with a 12-9 lead, and East Mississippi trying to smother Gulf Coast here in the back court now. And here comes Lady Bulldogs across the timeline, and another traveling violation. East Mississippi turning the pressure up defensively is going to cause another Lady Bulldog turnover, and East Mississippi will trigger it in right here in front of the scorer's table. 12-9, Lady Lions leading it here as we're under 3:20 to go here in the first quarter. From the free throw line, just inside the free throw line, mid-range jumper is up and no good, and the Lady Bulldogs will pull down the rebound with Whitney Johnson, and the Lady Bulldogs bring it back up the floor. Running the point is Goolsby once again for Gulf Coast. Daphne White being covered up pretty solidly down low by a couple of defenders for EMCC. 8 seconds to shoot here for the Lady Bulldogs. Deep three-pointers on the way. That is off the glass, up and no good. And EMCC chases down the loose rebound. Here comes the Lady Lions on the move now. And EMCC couldn't get back in transition fast enough to get an easy bucket, so they'll back it out and reset things offensively here. With Metcalf getting the call now. With 10 seconds to shoot here for the Lady Lions. Metcalf working with the basketball at the top of the circle now. Three-pointer is on the way, and in and out, no good. But EMCC chases down the rebound, and it'll be a reset here for the Lady Lions with Metcalf. From the free throw line, good move, and now the ball squirted free. Now we're going to have some contact and a foul right around the free throw line. This is going to go against Gulf Coast. And I think Goolsby is going to be guilty of the foul, so that's her first. The second team foul on Gulf Coast. EMCC only with one foul on the board. That's on Taylor Lattimore. EMCC is going to trigger it in now, out to Hollings. And East Mississippi with basketball possession and a 12-9 lead, under 2 to play here in the first quarter. Lady Lions with 8 to shoot now. from the far side. That's an open jumper, up and good there by Rush. So she's got a couple of baskets, and it's out to a 5-point East Mississippi lead. That was a good look over in the corner by Rush, and she buried it. Gulf Coast looking to answer quickly. Baseline move right in the lane. That's up and no good. Good strong rebound down low there by Stix Hollings, and here comes EMCC back up the floor now. From the top of the circle, Hollings will dish it over into the corner now. Nothing there for EMCC. So Lady Lions will back it out now. From the free throw line out toward the left wing now. Looking to go inside to Hollings. A lot of contact down low, and that's going to go on Daphne White. So that is her first personal foul for the Lady Bulldogs. So White guilty of the personal, and that'll obviously reset the shot clock at 20 seconds as EMCC will trigger it in along the baseline. After the inbound now from the left wing now. EMCC from the top of the circle now will roll it back out to Hollings. As Metcalf working with the basketball here for EMCC. Looking to go inside. Here comes Hollings now. Good move. And there was a lot of contact on that basketball going up. They're going to say it was a clean block down low by White. So Gulf Coast with a good stand defensively. And here comes the Lady Bulldogs back up the floor, trailing EMCC 14-9 with under 40 seconds to go here in the first quarter. And we're going to have some contact away from the basket here, and this is going to go against the Lady Lions. And that is going to be on Amaya Rush. That's going to be her first personal. As Maddie Riley going to check back in now for EMCC. Also, Jackson is going to check in now, and taking a seat for EMCC is going to be Metcalf. So 37.4 to go here in the first quarter. And Gulf Coast with the basketball. Good move toward the bucket. That is up and no good. Good rebound down low by Hawkins. And here comes EMCC up the floor. About a 2 to 3 second differential between shot and game clock. So EMCC is going to try to run a lengthy play here to wrap up the first quarter. And the Lady Lions looking to move it down low over toward the left wing. That shot is up and no good, and Gulf Coast had the ball momentarily, but it is going to stay with the Lady Lions. So the shot clock will be turned off with 8.2 seconds to go before the end of the first quarter. So the Lady Lions will have one more crack at it before we wrap up period number one. Lady Lions will trigger it in, and here's a long, I thought it was going to be a long three-pointer there by EMCC, but the Lady Lions going to move it down low, and White blocked that one right back toward EMCC, and that'll wrap things up for the first quarter. We played one here at the Curry Coliseum. It is EMCC 14 and Gulf Coast 9 from the state basketball tournament here in Scuba. All right, welcome back inside the Curry Coliseum. About set for second quarter activity. EMCC leading Mississippi Gulf Coast 14-9. Taking a look at some of the quick numbers from the first quarter. East Mississippi with a one rebound advantage at 10-9 so far. And East Mississippi 6 of 18 from the floor, while Mississippi Gulf Coast 4 of 11. So Not bad shooting there by the Lady Lions to start off things. Of course, both teams shooting at around a 30% clip, just over it. Long three-pointers up and no good. Hollings saved it along the baseline. Only 5 seconds to shoot, though, for EMCC, and that ball is going to be poked out of bounds. So East Mississippi will be inbounding the basketball with only 2 seconds on the shot clock. Points in the paint so far. Gulf Coast 6-4 advantage in that area, and obviously all those belong to Daphne White. So only 2 seconds for the Lady Lions to shoot the basketball. Here's a three-pointer that is up and no good. Did not draw any irons. That'll be a shot clock violation on East Mississippi. So Gulf Coast will get their hands on the basketball for the first time here in the second quarter. So far, leading scorers for the Lady Lions, Metcalf, Rush, and Hawkins, all with 4 points apiece to lead the way for EMCC. And there's a corner three-pointer that is up and good. That is Jackson on the three-pointer for the Lady Bulldogs, and this back down to a 2-point East Mississippi lead as we approach 9 to go here before the break. East Mississippi from the top of the circle now, moving with the basketball. Here's a long shot that is just inside the three-point line. That's good by Taylor Lattimore. So that was just a step inside the three-point line. So a long two for Lattimore, and East Mississippi back out in front by 4, 16-12. As Gulf Coast with a good baseline move. That shot is up and no good as Styx Hollings comes out of there with the rebound for EMCC. And good baseline move. Back out toward the top of the circle. Three-pointers on the way and off the back iron, no good. That was an excellent look there by Lattimore. She just could not get it to go. And Gulf Coast will grab the rebound and bring it up the floor with Goolsby still running the point for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Winner plays semifinal game tomorrow night at 5:30. And Gulf Coast, baseline move, nothing there. Good defense by EMCC along the baseline area. Good spin move, and East Mississippi is going to pick her pocket, and here comes Lady Lions back up the floor. Good two-game right there is going to be up and no good there, so East Mississippi will head back to the free throw line. And that foul is going to go on Jackson. That is her first. And that will send Metcalf to the free throw line for EMCC. And first free throw is in and good. She'll have a second one coming up here. Metcalf on the season, about a 67% free throw shooter. And she pushes the second one up, and it's off the back iron, no good. So 1 of 2 at the line as Gulf Coast will grab the loose rebound and bring it up the floor. 17-12 now. Lady Lions leading it here in the second quarter from the Curry Coliseum. Gulf Coast going to be a free throw jumper that was partially blocked, and Gulf Coast actually came out of there with the basketball. Now Goolsby's going to fire from long range. That is up and no good. And Maddie Riley came out of there with the rebound for EMCC. Down low to Hollings, and that is up and no good. She's fighting for her own rebound, but we've got contact down low, and I believe this is going to go against Gulf Coast, so it'll stay on this end of the floor. So good job inside there by Hollings. And the foul is going to go against Whitney Johnson. That is her first, and the second team foul of this quarter on Mississippi Gulf Coast, as Truth Taylor are going to check in now for Gulf Coast. And EMCC is going to bring Hawkins back in. As Styx Hollings at the free throw line here for EMCC. And on the season, Styx is 73% from the line. And she'll have a pair coming up here for East Mississippi. She pushes the first one up, and it rolls. It hit every bit of the iron but could not fall. But she'll have a second opportunity right here. And second free throw by Hollings is in there, so she gets 1 of 2 at the line. Now it's 18-12 now, under 7.5 to go here in the second quarter, as East Mississippi once again bringing a little bit of pressure here in the backcourt, but Gulf Coast will bring it down the floor now. And Goolsby once again controlling the point here for Mississippi Gulf Coast, as Amaya Rush is set to check in on our next stoppage of play inside to Daphne White, and that is up and good. So the big 6'5" sophomore from Gulfport scores another one off the window, and it's back down to a 4-point lead for East Mississippi. Lady Lions looking to answer that bucket inside by White off of the window, and East Mississippi nearly turned it over, but back inside now and back out toward the top of the circle for a three-pointer in the far corner, and it's up and no good, and East Mississippi is going to be guilty of some contact down low, and I believe that is going to go against Maddie Riley as she was over the back on that play, so that'll be Maddie's first personal. And here comes Amaya Rush checking back into the ball game for East Mississippi. And looks like Stix Hollings will take a seat now for EMCC. 4-point lead for the Lady Lions as we roll towards 6.5 to go here in the second quarter from the Curry Coliseum. Gulf Coast looking to score down low, and the Lady Bulldogs will do just that. That's Kayla Simmons. She scores down low, and Gulf Coast continues to work in the paint and get points, and it's back down to a 2-point East Mississippi lead. It's 18-16. Lady Lions have led this entire quarter. Gulf Coast got out to an early lead, obviously, to start our game, but East Mississippi has led by as much as 5 in this game, and that shot is off the iron, no good. Pretty good look there by Hawkins on the spin move, but just couldn't get it to fall. So Gulf Coast with a chance to tie it or take a lead on this next trip up the floor. Gulf Coast, they're going to work it down low once again. That is off the rim and good. So once again, Kayla Simmons scores down low, and we're back tied. It's 18-all with just over 5.5 and counting to go here in the second quarter. East Mississippi looking to move it down low. That jumper is up and good, so good job by Metcalf of scoring from the mid-range, and that's going to be the 20th point on the board for East Mississippi, and it's back to a 2-point EMCC lead, and East Mississippi almost got a steal on the far sideline as Daniels almost came away with the steal, but it will stay with Mississippi Gulf Coast as Hollings and Metcalf check that. Jackson and Hollings will check back into the ball game now for East Mississippi. And once again, another sub will come to the table as Taylor Lattimore will check in on our next stoppage of play. And good job there by Maddie Riley. She was going up against Daphne White and made the steal. And a good steal there by Maddie, and that will bring things back down the floor for the Lady Lions now. Riley going to hand it off to Daniels. Back out to the top of the circle. EMCC going to fire from long range, and that is in and out, no good. And Daphne White's going to get the rebound down low for Mississippi Gulf Coast. That was a great look at the top of the circle, just couldn't get it to fall. And Gulf Coast, trailing by 2, will bring it up the floor. Daphne White once again surrounded by East Mississippi defenders. And do we have a foul or is it a travel? Poked it out of bounds, So East Mississippi had 3 defenders around White down in the lane, and it's going to stay on this end of the floor with Mississippi Gulf Coast. So good job by the Lady Lions defensively of surrounding Daphne White. As Gulf Coast with Goolsby running things at the point now with 7 seconds to shoot now for Gulf Coast. Goolsby trying to make her move. Deep three-pointer is in and out, no good as Maddie Riley chases down the rebound. So pretty good job there by EMCC defensively. And coast to coast and off the window and good for East Mississippi. That was Ty Metcalf who scored. And East Mississippi is going to turn up the pressure defensively once again with a 4-point lead, 22-18. Here comes Goolsby and Gulf Coast working with the basketball now. And down low once again to Daphne White. She spins and she scores. 2 defenders on Daphne White, and she has been almost unstoppable down low, and it's back down to a 2-point East Mississippi lead. As East Mississippi working with the ball now with Ty Metcalf. Over here toward the near side now. Over toward the far end of the floor now. Three-pointer is in and good. Three-pointer was buried by Hawkins, and it's a 5-point East Mississippi lead. It was a good look over in that far corner. Now the ball squirts free, and Gulf Coast going to chase it down. And Lady Bulldogs, where do you think Gulf Coast is thinking about going? They've been feeding it down low to either Simmons or White for a majority of this first half. And that's going to be off the window and good by Truth Taylor for her first points off the bench for Gulf Coast. And it's back down to a 3-point East Mississippi lead. We're under 3 minutes to go. And East Mississippi has led by as much as 5 on a couple of different occasions here in this second quarter. As EMCC is going to try to move it down low, and that shot is up and no good as Stix Hollings was going up against Daphne White, and her shot was off balance. She couldn't get it to go. Goolsby rolling it down the floor for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Inside once again to Daphne White, and she throws it up and no good. But Gulf Coast gets a second crack at it and scores with Owens down low, so it's back down to a 1-point lead. There's a couple of EMCC defenders down low trying to get the rebound, but the ball just carrying back to Owens for the easy bucket. So with 2 minutes to go before halftime, East Mississippi with a 1-point lead. Lady Lions bounce pass down low. There's the feed. Actually, it's going to be stolen by Mississippi Gulf Coast, and we're going to have a foul well away from the bucket, and this is obviously going to go on the Lady Lions. That'll go against Hawkins. That's her first personal. Nobody in any kind of foul trouble for either ball club. Everyone that has fouled only got one apiece right now, so nobody in any danger right now as Gulf Coast will bring it back up the floor. Here's Goolsby. It feels like she's been out there for the entire first half, running the offense for Mississippi Gulf Coast. And she is going to fire from long range. That's off the back iron, no good. Chasing down the rebound is Metcalf. She dashes up the floor quickly. Good baseline move toward the window, and that is up and no good, but that'll earn EMCC a couple of free throws here with Lattimore. So Lattimore will be at the free throw line. She is a 66% free throw shooter as Gulf Coast will head back to the bench, and Whitney Johnson going to check in now. And that previous foul was on Goolsby, so she has now picked up her second foul. And here is Lattimore at the line for the Lady Lions, and she misses the first one. She'll have a second one coming up for EMCC. 1.5 to go before halftime. East Mississippi leading by just 1 point, 25-24. Second free throw is in and out, no good. But Stix Hollings gets the rebound, and she is going to travel with the basketball. So the official along the baseline said she walked with the basketball. So that'll give the ball right back to Mississippi Gulf Coast as Sharon Thompson going to bring Amaya Rush back into the ball game on her next stoppage of play. Gulf Coast with a chance to take the lead on this possession here, trailing EMCC by 1 point, 25-24, with a minute and change before halftime. And we've got a whistle and a 3-second violation on Mississippi Gulf Coast, so that'll turn it right back over as Rush will check back into the ball game, and Stix Hollings will take a seat for EMCC. So East Mississippi with 1 minute to go before the break has ball possession and a 1 point lead. Lady Lions moving it around top of the circle and back over toward the left wing now. Trying to go inside to Maddie Riley there, but nothing there. And now just inside the three-point line. That is up and no good. And we're going to have contact down low as the ball was free, and that is going to go against Maddie Riley. So Riley picks up her second, and Gulf Coast will have the basketball with 41.4 seconds as Hollings going to check back into the ball game as Riley will take a seat with her second personal, and Gulf Coast will bring it up the floor with just over 30 seconds to go before halftime. As Goolsby picks up her dribble at the top of the circle now, moves around the pick and back over here toward the left wing. Inside to, thought that was White, but it was actually Simmons down low, and East Mississippi gets the steal. So the shot clock is turned off with 15 seconds to go before the end of the first half, as East Mississippi will hold the basketball here for the final shot before halftime. As Metcalf makes her move, and that's going to be a two-pointer that is up and no good. So we have reached halftime here tonight at the Curry Coliseum with East Mississippi leading Gulf Coast 25-24. We'll have the second half coming up in just a few minutes from the state basketball tournament. All right, we're set for the second half here at the Curry Coliseum as East Mississippi leading by 1 and with basketball possession to start off things here in the third quarter. And we'll take a look at some of the first half stats here in just a few moments as East Mississippi has led by as much as 5 on 2 different occasions. And Lady Lions going to fire for a three-pointer, and that is off the mark and no good. That'll go out of bounds. East Mississippi was 10 of 31 shooting the basketball in the first half, while Mississippi Gulf Coast was 11 of 25. 44% off the floor for Gulf Coast and 32% for EMCC. Rebounding advantage goes to Gulf Coast. They are +1 in the rebounding department as Daphne White leads the way in scoring right now with 10 points for Mississippi Gulf Coast. And now scoring for Gulf Coast inside is going to be Owens. And leading the way in scoring for East Mississippi as we roll here in the third quarter is Ty Metcalf. She leads all scorers for EMCC with 9. Lady Lions looking to respond here. That is off the mark and no good. And here comes Mississippi Gulf Coast moving it back down the floor here. So Gulf Coast leading by 1, 26-25. Here's Daphne White once again. That shot is no good. Her second chance is up and no good, but she'll head to the free throw line. And looks like that is going to be on Daniels, so that is her first. And Daphne White will be at the free throw line here for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Daphne White, the 6'5" sophomore from the Gulfport area, pushes the first one up and good, so she'll have a second one coming up here for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Lady Bulldogs up by 2 now, 27-25 as White pushes her second free throw up. It's good, so she was perfect from the line. And East Mississippi will head up the floor now offensively, trailing by 3 now, 28-25. So good start for Gulf Coast coming out of the locker room. East Mississippi looking to respond here from the left wing toward the baseline, up toward the window. We're going to have a foul down low on Gulf Coast, and this one is going to go against Whitney Johnson. That is her second personal. East Mississippi's only got one player with more than one foul. That is Maddie Riley, who's carrying 2 fouls, so no foul trouble for the Lady Lions as of right now, as Whitney Johnson just picked up her second, so she's carrying 2. Goolsby also carrying 2 fouls for Mississippi Gulf Coast. East Mississippi with Stix Hollings. Mid-range jumper is buried from just inside the three-point line. So good look there by Hollings. And ball is free on the floor, and it will stay with Mississippi Gulf Coast as East Mississippi turned up the pressure defensively once again and nearly got a steal, but it went out of bounds, and it will stay with Mississippi Gulf Coast here near the scorer's table. And once again, East Mississippi is going to knock it out of bounds as Stix Hollings will knock it free. And looks like we're going to have a sub here for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Checking into the ball game is going to be Jackson, as Whitney Johnson will take a seat now for the Lady Bulldogs as she has 2 personal fouls. Gulf Coast leading by 1 here in the first 2 minutes plus here of the third quarter. Winner plays in the semifinal round tomorrow night at 5:30. As Gulf Coast going to roll it down low to who else but Daphne White. But EMCC, good job inside. There was 3 defenders down low covering Daphne White. And here comes EMCC back up the floor now. From the corner, three-pointer is on the way, and it is good for East Mississippi. That was a Maya Rush. She buried it from long range, and the Lady Lions are up by 2 now after that three-pointer. And now a turnover by Mississippi Gulf Coast. Here comes EMCC rolling toward the bucket, and Stix Hollings is going to push that one up and no good. But we've got contact down low on the Lady Bulldogs, and that foul will go on Owens. That'll be her first. Gulf Coast turned the basketball over right here in front of the scorer's table, and actually it's going to be a foul on Jones, I believe. But in any event, EMCC will be at the free throw line. Stix Hollings, 73% from the charity stripe this year, pushes the first one up, and she missed it, but she'll have a second one on the way. So Gulf Coast came out of the locker room with a lot of momentum, but that three-pointer from the corner by Amaya Rush gave EMCC some much-needed momentum after they lost it. So 2 free throw misses, and here comes Lady Bulldogs with basketball possession, and EMCC leading by a bucket, 30-28, with 7 to go before the end of the third quarter. Gulf Coast with the basketball. Good spin move toward the lane. That shot is up and no good, and East Mississippi grabs the loose board. So good job defensively down low. Couple of defenders were in the area for East Mississippi. Lady Lions by 2 with the basketball now. Over here in the near corner, along the left wing. Back out toward the top of the circle goes EMCC now. And Lady Lions going to fire from long range again. That is off the side of the iron, no good. And Daphne White will come out of there with the rebound for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Goolsby running the point once again for the Lady Bulldogs now. Back over toward the left wing, and we've got a whistle and a timeout by Mississippi Gulf Coast, and this will be a quick 30-second timeout. So with 6:21 to go before the end of the third quarter, East Mississippi still hanging on to a lead, 30-28. Gulf Coast grabbed the lead briefly in the first couple of minutes of the quarter, but East Mississippi on the pace of a long three-pointer by Amaya Rush gave the lead back to the homestanding Lady Lions. Of course, one more game on the schedule here tonight at the Curry Coliseum. The final game of day 2 will be Southwest Mississippi, the 2 seed out of the South, taking on the 3 seed out of the North, Holmes. And, of course, the winner of our current game and that game later on tonight will play in our semifinal game tomorrow night at 5:30. Of course, the other semifinal game is already set for tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, featuring Jones and Itawamba. Of course, Itawamba got a 1-point overtime win over Pearl River earlier today. So after the timeout by the Lady Bulldogs, Gulf Coast will have basketball possession now and trailing EMCC by 2, 30-28. And we're going to have a whistle down low, and this is going to go, I believe, against East Mississippi. I think Amaya Rush is going to be guilty of the foul. And that is the second foul on Amaya. So, and Daphne White down low will not score that one. Second chance opportunity, and she'll score at that time, and that'll tie the ball game back up at 30. So she got a second chance at it and scored it, as Daphne White's in double figures. Obviously, she had 10 at the break, and she just continues to build on her point total for Gulf Coast. A lot of contact down low, and looks like the foul is going to go against Mississippi Gulf Coast. And that's going to go against White. That is Daphne White's second foul, so East Mississippi went right after her down low, and Daphne was guilty of the contact, Daphne White down low. As EMCC will be at the free throw line with Taylor Lattimore. And the first free throw is up and good. She'll have a second one upcoming here. Lattimore on the season, a 66% free throw shooter for East Mississippi. And her second one is in and good. So she scored 2 from the line. And once again, East Mississippi is going to pick up the defensive pressure here in the back court now. Lady Lions back up by 2, 32-30. As we play here in the third quarter. And that ball was almost jarred free. East Mississippi continuing the pressure defensively. Good move toward the basket. Ball is fought for, and we're going to have a traveling violation along the baseline against the Lady Lions. So it will stay on this end of the floor with Mississippi Gulf Coast, as Styx Hollings had the ball momentarily, but the official along the baseline said that she traveled with it. And we're going to have a sub here for EMCC. Checking into the ball game is going to be Hawkins. And Ty Metcalf will take a seat now for EMCC. Daphne White with the basketball down low, fires it back out toward the top of the circle for a reset here for Mississippi Gulf Coast. The ball is free, and we're going to have another traveling violation against East Mississippi, as the Lady Lions with Styx Hollings almost got the steal. She was down on the floor trying to pick up her dribble and find someone to pass it to, but she was guilty of the travel, and Gulf Coast will have the basketball once again. As Gulf Coast triggers it in, trailing EMCC 32-30 now. From just inside the free throw line, that jumper rolls in and good for Owens down low. And we're back to a tie game at 32. with 5 to go before the end of the third quarter. A tie game between East Mississippi and Gulf Coast. Winner will head to the semifinals of the state tournament. As the Lady Lions, with 10 seconds to shoot, good spin move toward the free throw line. Over here toward the near corner to Hollings. Inside into some traffic. Three-pointer is on the way, and that is off the back iron, no good. And Gulf Coast will win the rebound and bring it back up the floor now with a chance to take the lead once again. A little bit of contact out toward the top of the circle is going to go against Hawkins, and that is going to be her second foul now. So now you got Hawkins, Rush, and Riley all carrying 2 fouls for East Mississippi. So we're tied at 32 with 4.5 to go here in the third quarter, with an opportunity to go to the semis of the state tournament. There's a dribble drive toward the bucket, but there's going to be a foul down low, and this one is going to go against Daniels. So Tia Daniels picks up her second. So you got 4 Lady Lions with 2 fouls apiece now, as Metcalf will check back into the game, and Daniels will head to the bench now for East Mississippi. At the free throw line for Mississippi Gulf Coast is Jackson, and she makes it. It rolled around it, hit every bit of the iron, and rolled in for Mississippi Gulf Coast, and she'll have a second one coming up here. And second free throw, that one misses, so 1 of 2 from the line, but Gulf Coast takes a slim 1-point lead as East Mississippi rolls it down the floor very quickly now offensively. Rolling it down low to Sticks Hollings. Hollings working against Daphne White, and that one is up and no good, but the foul down low on Daphne White. So now that's something to watch now. Mississippi Gulf Coast and Daphne White, her 3rd personal foul, and White is going to head to the bench. That's a big moment right there, as White will head to the bench with 3 personal fouls, and Kayla Simmons will check in for White. As Sticks Hollins at the free throw line will drain the first one. Sticks, 73% from the free throw line. Will look to give the Lady Lions the 1-point lead on this second free throw from the charity stripe. It's up and rolled in and out, no good. So the game will remain tied as Gulf Coast will bring it up the floor. So development here in this game. Daphne White on the bench now for Gulf Coast with 3 personal fouls. Kayla Simmons checking in now for Gulf Coast down low. And there's a block down low by East Mississippi out of bounds. That was a great block down low by Lattimore, but Gulf Coast will have 13 seconds on the shot clock. And it looks like Amaya Rush is going to check back into the ball game here for EMCC. And Sticks will check out here for the Lady Lions. Gulf Coast will inbound the basketball underneath their own goal. Here comes Goolsby now picking up the basketball. Good drive toward the basket, and a block from behind by East Mississippi. That was Hawkins who got a piece of it and blocked it out of bounds. And it will stay on this end of the floor with Gulf Coast. 8 seconds to shoot on the shot clock now for the Lady Bulldogs. And Gulf Coast taking a lot of time. Ball is free, and East Mississippi will come out of there with it on the turnover. Here comes Lady Lions running the floor now. Good pass toward the other end of the paint area, and that is up and good by Ty Metcalf, and the crowd comes alive as East Mississippi is back out in front by 2, 35-33. As Gulf Coast going to fire from long range and drain a three-pointer. That was good by Truth Taylor, and Gulf Coast is back out in front 36-35. So Taylor has scored a couple of times off the bench. And here's a cross-court pass over here toward the near corner. That shot is up and no good. We've got a foul where the Lady Lions are trying to shoot the basketball, and that's going to go against Truth Taylor for Gulf Coast. As Taylor Lattimore will head to the free throw line now for East Mississippi. Lattimore, just over a 65% free throw shooter, and she will be at the line for a pair right now for the Lady Lions. She pushes the first one up and misses the front end, but she'll have a second one coming up here. Of course, Lattimore, the sophomore out of Memphis, pushes the second free throw up, and she missed both of them. So 2 big misses, and Gulf Coast will bring the ball up the floor with a 1-point lead, 36-35. Lady Bulldogs leading it over our EMCC Lady Lions. That's going to be a traveling violation, and Gulf Coast is going to turn it over. So costly turnover there by the Lady Bulldogs, and EMCC will get their hands back on the basketball, but we have a timeout called on the floor. It's going to be a full timeout with East Mississippi trailing Gulf Coast 36-35 here from the state basketball tournament here at the Curry Coliseum. All right, after the timeout, we've got 3:03 to go here in the third quarter. It is 36-35. Mississippi Gulf Coast leading East Mississippi. After the timeout, Lady Lions will bring it up the floor now, trailing by 1. East Mississippi working it around the floor now. And Lady Lions toward the top of the circle, looking to go down low. A little bit of contact there along the baseline. No call now. 10 seconds to shoot for East Mississippi as Lady Lions trying to find some offense here and take the lead once again. Good move toward the other end of the floor. That shot is up and good. Three-pointer is good by Ty Metcalf. So she hits a three-pointer, and East Mississippi is back out in front by 2, 38-36. Ball is free. Goolsby saves it. And who's going to come out of there with it? Is it going to be a 10-second call? It will be a 10-second call, so more pressure defense by East Mississippi. And a big sequence right there as Metcalf got the three-pointer, and now the 10-second call. And East Mississippi will bring it up the floor, up by 2. Another sub here for Mississippi Gulf Coast as Jackson is going to check in here for Whitney Johnson. Of course, the one player on the either squad who's in serious foul trouble is Daphne White for Mississippi Gulf Coast. She's got 3 personal fouls and still on the bench for the Lady Bulldogs. East Mississippi up by 2 now. Lady Lions working toward the top of the circle now. East Mississippi moving with it with 10 seconds to shoot now for EMCC. Lady Lions making their move down in the paint. That shot is blocked down low by Simmons, and East Mississippi steals it right back, and we're going to have a foul down low, and I believe this is going to go against Goolsby. If that is on Goolsby, that is her 3rd personal. And it will go on Goolsby, so she now has 3 personals for Mississippi Gulf Coast. At the free throw line, Hawkins will be at the free throw line here for EMCC. She pushes the first one up and in. On the season for Hawkins, she's a 69% free throw shooter. And she pushes the second one up, and it's in and good. So perfect off the line is Hawkins, and EMCC out to a 4-point lead, 40-36. More pressure defense, and East Mississippi gets the turnover. And here comes the Lady Lions now with basketball possession once again. Such tenacious defense here by EMCC, causing a handful of turnovers here in the closing minutes of the third quarter. Lady Lions setting up a new play here with just over 10 to shoot now from the corner. That shot is up and no good. Did not draw any iron. And East Mississippi got the rebound down low and a lot of traffic down low. And what do we got? And I believe they're going to call a 3-second call on East Mississippi down low. As Stix Holling's going to check back in now for EMCC. And Gulf Coast will get the basketball back here as Amaya Rush will take a seat now for EMCC. 1:20 to go before the end of the third quarter. This has been a good one between East Mississippi and Mississippi Gulf Coast. Lady Lions with a 4-point lead, 40-36. Gulf Coast streaking down the floor. That's off the window, up and no good. Maddie Riley with a good rebound down low, and here comes Lady Lions running up the floor quickly. And Maddie Riley was not looking there for the pass, but East Mississippi luckily is going to hang on to basketball possession. Lady Lions up by 4. We're under a minute to go here in the third quarter. Lady Lions now with 6 to shoot now. Nothing doing there. Lady Lions going to fire from long range. That is off the mark, no good, and Gulf Coast will chase down the rebound along the baseline with Goolsby. East Mississippi just ran out of shot clock there and had to force the long three-pointer. About a 8 to 9 second differential between shot and game clock, but we're going to have a foul down low on East Mississippi. That's going to go against Maddie Riley. That is the third personal now on Maddie Riley, so she'll head to the bench now, and Amaya Rush will check back in. At the free throw line is Kayla Simmons. So with 28.2 to go, Gulf Coast will be at the free throw line. East Mississippi will get one last crack at it before we head to the fourth quarter as the shot clock is turned off here at the Curry Coliseum. First free throw is in and good by Simmons. She'll have a second one on the way. Biggest lead for any team has been 5 points. This has been a tight one for the entire night, so it's back down to a 2-point lead for East Mississippi. Shot clock, as we mentioned, is turned off, so East Mississippi can work for the final shot before we head to the fourth quarter here at the Curry Coliseum. And East Mississippi with 7 seconds on the game clock will push a shot up. Off the mark, no good. Stix Hollings had it momentarily, but it's going to go out of bounds, and it will stay on this end of the floor with East Mississippi with 3.8 seconds to go here in the third quarter. Lady Lions will trigger it in here with Metcalf with only 3+ seconds to shoot here. Deep inbound, and EMCC is going to fire from long range, and that is off the back iron, no good. And we will head to the fourth quarter in a great one between East Mississippi and Mississippi Gulf Coast. It is Lady Lions leading the Lady Bulldogs 40-30. All right, we're set for the fourth quarter. East Mississippi leading 40-38. Gulf Coast will have possession to open things up here in the fourth quarter. We'll take a look at some of our stats here after 3 quarters of play coming up here in the first round for EMCC and Mississippi Gulf Coast. Daphne White still not in the ballgame for Gulf Coast. She's still sitting on the bench with 3 fouls, and that is going to be a push against East Mississippi. Wow. And that's going to go against Hawkins. That is now her 3rd personal foul. So evidently there was some contact, and Daniels will check in now. So Hawkins now carrying 3 fouls, as is Maddie Riley now for East Mississippi. So a reset of the shot clock at 20 for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Gulf Coast puts up a kind of an off-balance shot there, and the Lady Bulldogs get the rebound down low. And almost a near travel in front of the Gulf Coast bench, but stays with the Lady Bulldogs. Bounce pass down low to Simmons. Simmons trying to work on Sticks Hollings. That shot is up and no good. And Sticks gets a strong rebound down low. And good sequence there for East Mississippi. Rebounding total so far after 3 quarters. East Mississippi is -7 on the boards right now to Mississippi Gulf Coast. Daphne White leading the way in scoring for Gulf Coast with 14 points. And Ty Metcalf leading the Lady Lions with 14 points after 3 periods here at the state tournament. Long three-pointers on the way for the Lady Lions. That rolls off the iron, no good. But East Mississippi chases down the rebound and will get another second crack at it here as Taylor Lattimore with the basketball out near the logo. Lattimore working with 7 seconds on the shot clock. Shot is up and no good, and East Mississippi chases it down. And here's a three-pointer off the mark, no good, and East Mississippi gets another crack at it. Lady Lions had to fire up a desperation 3 as the shot clock was running out, but luckily for EMCC, they were able to get the loose rebound. Now with 9 seconds to shoot after the reset, here's Sticks Hollings down low, and that is going to be a jump ball, and it will stay with East Mississippi on the possession arrow as Daphne White checks back in now with 3 fouls for Mississippi Gulf Coast. So East Mississippi will have basketball possession after the jump ball. And the shot clock only 4 seconds. And East Mississippi triggers it in quickly. Here's the shot. It's up and good. Beautiful shot there by Taylor Lattimore. So East Mississippi with 3rd and 4th opportunities on that trip score. And here comes Gulf Coast rolling it down to Daphne White. But good job inside there by Amaya Rush against Daphne White to knock that one away as they were looking to feed White down low. And East Mississippi knocked it out of bounds. Gulf Coast going to trigger it in along the baseline. East Mississippi leading at 42-38. And here's a shot just inside the three-point line. That is buried and good there by Owens. So it's back down to a 2-point East Mississippi lead. Daphne White with 3 personal fouls. She's got 14 points for Gulf Coast down low. And of course, as we mentioned, Ty Metcalf leading East Mississippi with 14 points. So those are the scoring leaders as of right now. East Mississippi with 7 seconds now. Got to make a move here with the basketball. Three-pointer is on the way. Too strong and off the mark. But East Mississippi gets the loose rebound. East Mississippi trying to make a baseline move there, but nothing there. Lady Lions going to move it down low with Sticks Hollings. And Hollings can't make anything happen down low. And no foul called. And Gulf Coast will come out there with the basketball. Goolsby once again running the point for Gulf Coast. She's got 3 personal fouls as well. Maddie Riley going to check back in on the next stoppage of play. So with Hawkins for East Mississippi. And inside to Daphne White. But East Mississippi nearly got a turnover there, and it should go back to East Mississippi as it caromed off the leg of Daphne White. So East Mississippi really playing well down low on Daphne White. There was 2 Lady Lions down low to knock that ball free. And Maddie Riley is going to check back in. So you got Maddie Riley and Daphne White both down low with 3 fouls apiece. So let's see how each head coach plays this one down the stretch, knowing that a couple of the bigs down low are in foul trouble. East Mississippi with basketball possession and a 2-point lead. Lady Lions back out toward the top of the circle. Moving with the basketball. Lady Lions are going to have to shoot it with 3 seconds on the shot clock. Ball is free, and it will go back to Gulf Coast on the turnover down below the goal. And Gulf Coast will move it the length of the floor. 6:10 left to go here in the 4th quarter. 42-40, East Mississippi leading it. The winner plays tomorrow night at 5:30 in the semifinal round against the winner of our next game between Southwest and Holmes. Goolsby and the Lady Bulldogs moving it down the floor as we're under 6 to play from the Curry Coliseum. Down low to Daphne White, and she pushes that one up and in. So White scores down low. She's got 16, and we're back tied. It's 42 apiece between EMCC and Gulf Coast. As the Lady Lions Moving it down toward the free throw line. Good move down the lane. Good open shot, and that's in and good by Taylor Lattimore. And Lattimore gives EMCC the lead once again by a single bucket. As Goolsby once again running the offense here for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Where are they going to go? Back inside to Daphne White, and she scores again. She's got 18 now for Mississippi Gulf Coast. As we approach 5 to go, we're tied again. It's 44 apiece. East Mississippi looking to answer after the bucket down low on Daphne White. Good spin move toward the free throw line. Back out for a three-pointer, and that one is up and off the mark, no good. And Daphne White gets the board down low for Mississippi Gulf Coast. So Gulf Coast with basketball possession. We're tied at 44. And Lady Bulldogs trying to look down low once again, but Goolsby is going to fire this one long, and that's going to be off the back iron, no good. That was several feet behind the three-point line. And East Mississippi back in transition, off the window, up and no good. Second opportunity is up and no good. And Lady Lions will control the basketball out toward the logo. A lot of contact out there as well. And East Mississippi, another chance at it, can't score. So East Mississippi had several opportunities to score there, but just couldn't get one to fall. So Goolsby brings it back up the floor for Mississippi Gulf Coast, and we have a timeout on the floor, and it was called by Gulf Coast, and it will be a full timeout. So with 4:10 left to go here in the game, we are tied at 44 between East Mississippi and Gulf Coast, and we'll keep things right here on the full timeout. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, the other semifinal game is already set between Jones and Itawamba. Those two schools will play tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, and of course the winner of this game will play the winner of Southwest and Holmes tomorrow night at 5:30. Of course, that game is coming up a little bit later on, scheduled 7:30 tip here at the Curry Coliseum. Of course, the men's action will be tomorrow night as well. Two semifinal games. All right, so with 4:10 left to go, Mississippi Gulf Coast will have basketball possession. We're in a tie game at 44, and Goolsby controlling things offensively here for Gulf Coast as we resume play. Gulf Coast with the basketball out toward the top of the circle. Goolsby from just inside the three-point line. That is up and no good. Good rebound down low by Maddie Riley, and East Mississippi saves it before it goes out of bounds. As the Lady Lions moving with the ball. Daphne White not in the ball game right now. They're going to probably save her for the home stretch here tonight. That shot is up and good. Good runner in the lane by Daniels, and EMCC back out in front, 46-44. East Mississippi bringing some pressure here in the backcourt. Stix Hollings, good defense there. Staying with Mississippi Gulf Coast. Goolsby out toward the left wing now. Nothing there. Back out toward the top of the circle. Good drive toward the lane. That's going to be out of bounds with 11 seconds to shoot on the shot clock here from Mississippi Gulf Coast. 3:15 to go. And EMCC leading 46-44. Here's Owen's jumper. That's off the mark, no good. And East Mississippi tracks down the rebound. So as we approach 3 to go, East Mississippi with a 2-point lead. Biggest lead of the night for either club has been 5 points. This has been a tight one since the tip here tonight between EMCC and Gulf Coast. Down low to Stix Hollings, off the window and good. Big bucket down low for Stix, and now it's a two-possession game, 48-44 in the favor of the Lady Lions. That ball is free, And Gulf Coast will just cross the timeline before the 10-second count. And now we're going to have a foul well away from the basket here, and that is going to go against Daniels. That is her third personal. So now you've got Daniels carrying 3 fouls. Hawkins has 3 fouls. And, of course, Maddie Riley with 3 fouls now for EMCC. As Gulf Coast will inbound the basketball along the baseline here underneath their own goal. Inbounded quickly by Gulf Coast now. With 2.5 to play, East Mississippi up by 4 inside, and that is going to be a steal by Stix Hollings underneath. Good defense, though, by Maddie Riley on Simmons. And here comes the Lady Lions back up the floor with a 4-point lead as we are drawing ever so closer to 2 minutes to go here tonight at the Curry Coliseum. Lady Lions with the basketball now, maximizing every second they can. 6 seconds to shoot now. Lady Lions make their move toward the basket, and there's going to be a foul down low on on Mississippi Gulf Coast, and that foul is going to go against Goolsby. So that is the 4th personal foul on Goolsby, and that's going to send Taylor Lattimore to the free throw line. She pushes the first one up. It's good. She'll have a second one coming here. 65% on the year at the free throw line for Taylor Lattimore. And she pushes the second one up, and it is in and out, no good. And the rebound is going to be won by Mississippi Gulf Coast as Daphne White comes back to the table. She'll check in on the next stoppage of play. And we're going to have a foul on East Mississippi. That's going to go against Metcalf. And Daphne White is going to check back in with 1:58 to go. And the Lady Lions leading 49-44. So East Mississippi is going to take a timeout. So we've got a full timeout on the floor, 1:58 to go here in the game. And East Mississippi is leading Gulf Coast 49-44. So big moment coming up here as Mississippi Gulf Coast will have basketball possession, trailing East Mississippi 49-44. As we mentioned, the winner will head off to the semifinal game tomorrow night at 5:30. They will take on either Southwest or Holmes. Our men's games tomorrow, just so you'll know, Jones will take on Pearl River tomorrow, semifinal game at 3 o'clock, and Hines and Northeast will play tomorrow night at 7:30. So after tonight, we will be down to our final 4 teams in this year's MACJC State Basketball Tournament here at the Curry Coliseum here in Scuba. But this one has been a good one here tonight between your Lady Lions, who are the #1 team out of the North Division, Gulf Coast, the 4 team out of the South Division. So here we go with 1:58 to go. Gulf Coast with the basketball. Lady Bulldogs trying to move it down low to you-know-who, Daphne White. And East Mississippi almost got a steal. Ooh, that was very, very close right there in front of the Lady Bulldog bench. And with 20 seconds to shoot on the shot clock, Gulf Coast will hang on to possession. Goolsby with the basketball now. Remember, she's got 4 fouls as well. You know they're looking to go down low to Daphne White, but a three-pointer is buried by Gulf Coast as Truth Taylor off the bench hits a big three-pointer. And now things have just gotten interesting. 49-47. East Mississippi leading it as we are officially under 1.5 minutes to go here tonight at the Curry Coliseum. Winner moves off to the semis tomorrow night. The loser, their time here at the state tournament will be done. Under 10 seconds to shoot on the shot clock. Three-pointer is up and off the rim, no good. And East Mississippi grabs the rebound and will reset things on the shot clock. We're approaching 1 minute to go here in the game. East Mississippi up by 2, and a big moment here offensively for the Lady Lions. 7 seconds to shoot. Over toward the corner. Stix Hollings back to the inside. Off the rim and good by Maddie Riley. And now East Mississippi is up by a couple of possessions, 51-47 with 45 seconds to go in the ball game. Gulf Coast, you know they're going down low to Daphne White, and she cannot score it down low. And we are going to have a jump ball, and possession arrow will belong to Mississippi Gulf Coast. So the Lady Bulldogs will hang on to possession on this end of the floor. And now the officials are getting together here. Whenever the officials get together, you never know what might happen. And so they are going to reset the shot clock down to 20 seconds because they had reset the shot clock to 30. So it was a 20-second shot clock reset. And Gulf Coast, almost a 5-second count, but Maddie Riley is going to pick it off for EMCC. Now the Lady Lions have basketball possession, and they foul here in the backcourt. And East Mississippi is feeling it now with 29.8 seconds to go. But we are not in the bonus just yet, as East Mississippi will have to inbound the basketball with 29.8 seconds. So we're not quite in the bonus just yet. And the Lady Lions will have to inbound it here as the clock rolls under 30 seconds to go. Metcalf going to be fouled by Goolsby, and Goolsby's night is done. That was her 5th personal. So Goolsby has just fouled out. And still not quite in the bonus just yet. That was only the 3rd team foul on Mississippi Gulf Coast. So East Mississippi is going to have to inbound it. And the Lady Lions, as the clock rolls under 20 seconds to go. And East Mississippi is going to be fouled right here in front of the scorers table, as that foul went on Jackson. So one more foul, and East Mississippi will be at the free throw line. 17 seconds to shoot. And the Lady Lions will inbound the basketball to Styx Hollings. She'll go off the window up and no good, but East Mississippi will head to the free throw line with 15.1 seconds to go and leading 51-47. Still a 2-possession game, but Styx could almost seal this game right now if she could drain some free throws here. She pushes the first one up, and it rolls in and good. She'll have a second one coming up here. Hollings on the season, 73% from the line, has just made it a 52-47 EMCC lead. Second free throw is up, and she scored both of them. So Gulf Coast running out of seconds here as East Mississippi leading at 53-47, under 10 seconds to go. Gulf Coast going to push a shot up and no good. East Mississippi gets the rebound, and the Lady Lions are going to come out of here with a 53-47 win over Mississippi Gulf Coast to move on to the semifinal round tomorrow night at 5:30 against the winner of our next game here at the Curry Coliseum, Southwest and Holmes. East Mississippi defeats Gulf Coast 53-47. So we'll talk to you again tomorrow night for more EMCC Lady Lion basketball. Semifinal game tomorrow night at 5:30 here on EMCC Athletics.